Welcome to episode 10 of After Bedtime.
Oh my gosh, I was not.
And
Why?
Sean Durst's vlog is ruining our lives.
No, it is not.
I'm just
It's
kidding.
bringing so much to our life, and I was not prepared.
We're gonna.
And
I'm
you
just
now threw me into this.
I'm just messing around. We're gonna start.
Holy crap! That gave me a heart attack.
We'll restart. All right, are you good on the vlog? You done watching the vlog?
I'm never done watching it.
You're literally trying to catch up on 2.5.
I'm almost there. It's
3 years of vlogs, daily
and I'm
vlogs.
doing it.
Okay.
Because I'm the biggest fan.
I used to actually really enjoy Sean Durst's vlog, but I don't anymore. And the incessant watching them is making me just be like, I'm over it.
I told you that I would watch it when you were not here, and you keep going, no babe, it's fine.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Welcome to episode 10 of After Bedtime. It's March. I can't believe it's March 2020 already. That went by really fast.
Yeah. Our birthdays are next month.
Yeah, our birthdays are next month. How old are you going to be? Are you going to be 30?
No.
How old are you going to be?
29.
Oh.
Last year in my 20s.
How old am I going to be? 26? 27, right? I'm going to be 27.
You'll be 27. You are 26.
Getting old.
No.
No, not
we're
really.
actually not.
If you think about it, we still have several more lifetimes to live.
Yeah.
Maybe not several, but at least 2 or 3.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely hope.
Why are you being weird?
I'm not being weird. I'm not being weird.
Yeah. We should definitely hope.
That's like earlier where he was like, that's weird.
I don't know what we're talking about.
That's okay. We're weird. The other weirdos will come and find us.
If you're weird, they will come.
I moved to my other phone for my notes.
I don't know.
My
I have to
iPad
tell
seemed
anyone
kind of
that.
wieldy, so I'm using my other phone. So before we actually were recording just earlier, I was talking about what my hidden talent was. I feel like my hidden talent is my ability to investigate people. Maybe not investigate them, but at least creep and stalk them.
Yeah, that's not really a talent that people should be broadcasting.
But it's not in a weird, creepy way, and it's not like in real life. I'm not stalking people to their homes.
No, what he's trying to say is
I'm
he's
very
good
at
tracking
researching
people down. If I mention this one person or something, I'm curious of what happened to them in their life or something like that, all of a sudden he has their LinkedIn or their Facebook and
yeah, I feel like I'm just very good at doing background research on people very quickly. Because we live in the digital age, it's really easy. I should also say that some of my feel good about my ability to research others is probably inflated because we live in the digital age and it's actually pretty easy.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest thing would probably be is that it's really Google's doing.
Yeah, you can just Google
work.
someone's name, and if you know where they work or what their title is, you can very quickly find the LinkedIn. Then once you find the LinkedIn, you can figure out other connections, and then you can find them on other social profiles. And then on the other social profiles, if you found them on LinkedIn, on their other social profiles, it'll always give you more information about
Which a lot of people are on LinkedIn. I didn't know that this I know it was a thing, but I didn't know that even if you weren't I like to call them big girl jobs or big boy jobs.
Well, I think that's actually
people are on there
because you're on the Gary Vee bandwagon now, and that's something he's been talking about a lot for 2020. Is in the last 6 months of 2019, LinkedIn really pivoted in terms of how their platform behaved, and he was really loud about it.
It's kind of almost like a social media for like the workplace.
It is, but like it became less of, because for a long time it was purely like people purely used it for like networking and job finding and resume, but like people use LinkedIn as like their online resume. But now the platform is very much becoming much more of like a content, like Facebook.
Yeah, like a social
media.
People
are like posting like stuff about their lives.
Well, I was creeping on your phone's LinkedIn because I don't have the app. I don't have a LinkedIn.
Creeping on my phone?
Just on the LinkedIn app. And
I
was just clicking around and I'm like, this is very similar to like almost like a
it's like a professional Facebook, but
well, I wouldn't even necessarily say Facebook. It gave me more of a feeling of like Instagram.
Yeah, or yeah, it just, to me though, the biggest thing I see different is like it was for a while, for the longest time, you could tell it was just everybody was very professional oriented. Excuse me. But now the stuff people is posting is more akin to like what people post on Instagram or Facebook. It's much more content oriented, but not everyone is there.
Completely relaxed.
It's not totally there, but like it is more and more and more.
Instead of like a suit and tie type of situation, it's more of like business casual.
Yeah, but I think it's going to continue to go casual. Like I think it's going to, as more and more people get on it, as it continues to age down, I think it's going to push more and more that way.
Yeah, but I think I think it's more of like, from what I could see, is it seems like a more business, at least right now, it seems like a more business casual for, especially people who have like small businesses, because it's kind of like for you to go along on the trip with them on like what they're doing, and they show pictures of renovating their offices or something like that. Like, I think that's pretty cool, just on a business front.
LinkedIn. How did we get on that topic? My hidden talent. Yeah, but why I brought that up was I was going to ask you, what do you think your hidden talent is? You don't think you have a hidden talent?
Making a situation awkward very quickly.
Oh, fair enough. I don't think that's a bad one. You'd probably be a good interviewer, because if you like make the situations awkward, people have a tendency to want to fill the silence.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I referencing to one of my favorite YouTubers, Sean Duras, is like the king of making, but like he does it on purpose because he thinks it's funny. He thinks awkward situations are funny. I don't necessarily, like, I think they're funny, but when I'm in the middle of them, I don't think it's funny. It makes me very uncomfortable, and then it makes the whole situation even more uncomfortable. What do you think one of my hidden talents is?
I actually think you're really good about, like, it's kind of along the researching front, but you're really good about like dissecting products, or maybe like categories of products, and like learning everything there is to know about the product, the top reviews. Like you're kind of like very consumer reporty. You know, you're like a living Consumer Reports.
What does that mean?
Like, people used to use Consumer Reports, and I think people still do. They like get the Consumer Reports, like, oh, what's the best dishwasher? What's the best whatever? Like, when you're gonna buy something, or we're preparing to buy something, or preparing to do something.
Yeah, I want it to be a good product.
You like do that deep dive, you know. Whereas like I go to Amazon, I search, what's the top listing? Oh, it's relatively cheap. Okay, get it.
No, because like just because Amazon see, but the thing is that you're not understanding that majority of the stuff that's at the top, it's that Amazon's recommending. It's a lot of Amazon's products, but Amazon's products aren't necessarily the best products.
No, I know, and like for me though, it's just a matter of like time and effort. It's just not the return I would get. I don't feel is worth it. Versus like you'll go like 50 listings down on like the 10th page to find the like hidden treasure.
Well, I know what I do is I read like the top few reviews, but I also like to view when those were posted, because a lot of times when the product was brand new, those high postings are from like years ago. And then I go to like the 1-star reviews, and I kind of weigh my options between there, because if there's a lot of in between reviews that are like, this is a great product but it does this, or I just like to figure out those things and kind of weigh my options before I make a decision.
I think that's kind of a hidden talent. I don't know. Okay, here's an
research stuff.
It's just a way in which you do it. I don't know. It's for you to answer, not for me.
I wasn't like disagreeing. I was just curious of what you thought my hidden talent was.
Okay. What would you say your superpower is?
Oh my gosh. I feel like when you're gonna ask these kind of questions, I need to be like made aware of before, like right as we're recording.
Well, they're not meant to be super hard. I mean, I'm just, trying to get conversation going and started.
I have no idea.
Fair enough. Maybe I'll think of it as we go.
What do you think my superpower is?
I had a Kleenex. Brief intermission there. I think I'm getting sick though. Whenever, how like you can always tell, like before you get sick, everyone has like their telltale signs of like what means that you're gonna get sick. Don't look at me like you're gonna quarantine me.
I also wanted to like jog your memory though, is that you have a lot of issues in transition of seasons.
Oh yeah.
Too though, allergy wise.
But I just feel like one of the things I can always tell, either like I'm getting sick or I'm getting ready to have like a sinus issue or something, is like my nose starts to run uncontrollably, and it's always one side. It's weird. Anyways, we were talking.
We are in March, and it's like going into spring, so there's a strong possibility that it's just allergies.
You're right. I have a defect.
No, I'm saying that you tend to kind of make yourself believe that you're on the downhill.
I apologize though for disrupting our conversation because we were talking about superpowers. What do you think your superpower is?
I really don't know.
All right, so I have a really weird one, and don't look at me strange when I share it.
But see, this is what I'm saying about like you have the whole day to think about what your superpower is.
Okay.
Or however long, whenever you write this question down, and then you're just like, I'm gonna surprise Kelsey with all these questions.
You get early access to the prompts, and your answers are gonna be better.
Because now I'm like,
Okay, I will start sharing my notes with you.
Questions.
Yeah, well, I just come up with this stuff just so I make sure I have something to bring to the table. Hint, hint. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
This is gonna be a really fun podcast.
I'm just kidding. Do you want me to share my superpower is?
You go right ahead and then share what you think my superpower is, because I have no idea. Or people listening, if you're friends with me, tell me what my superpower is.
All right, so I guess if I had to be, if I had to pick something, just with like a few minutes of thought into it, I would think, geez, Opie is drinking water really loudly.
I know, but I don't think it's as loud as you think it is. It's just because the room is quiet. There's no other sound going on.
Opie, stop.
Hey, okay, next time you're in mid-drink, I'm going to say, Stevan, stop.
All right. If I did pick a superpower for you, I think your superpower would have something to do with empathy.
Oh, that's nice.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Just caught the word.
This is very authentic.
Whoever's jumping on this podcast is really glad they're here right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. It has to do with empathy. So what I mean by that is you have an uncanny ability to, I'm like explaining what empathy is, but you have a very great capacity to feel what others feel and almost in a way anticipate what others are going to feel. Which I think most of the time probably you feel as a burden or a curse, but in which at times it probably is, because it's like, well, why am I so concerned with what they need or what they are feeling? But I think it's actually a huge asset because it's going to let you interact with people more positively, and you're going to be able to care for others in a way that other people maybe can't.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you.
Do you think that's a realistic superpower?
I think so.
That's my assessment at this point.
A nice
but
superpower.
I reserve the right to come up with another one if I think of it.
For me?
And since I had to come up with a superpower for you...
I think your superpower is your ability to speak. Like, to use the words.
You think I'm a good communicator? No, I'm a good speaker?
Not necessarily communicator.
Oh, so now I'm a bad communicator.
No.
I see.
No. I'm saying you struggle sometimes to communicate. But I do think that you're an amazing writer, and you are amazing at forming these things called sentences, because apparently I'm not very good at it, because now I'm starting to feel awkward in the moment. But I think you're really, really good at speaking. You know what you want to say, and you know how to say things intellectually.
That's a word.
Okay, is that the right word?
Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah.
Okay. It's just when you speak, it amazes me, and then when you write things, it's amazing, and it kind of makes me whenever I need to go write something for you or for someone in the family, I'm like, eh.
So I actually get a lot of people give me a hard time at work because I do write, and I write a lot. Because mostly how people communicate in a corporate setting is you can't just dive off screen.
I wanted to mute my phone. We're having a whole lot of issues.
Production quality here is really down this week. It's okay. We're gonna
Please go listen to another podcast. And
we're not this big of a hot mess all the time. So most of the time, in corporate America, as most people may be aware, most communication happens through email. And so I get a lot of flack at work because I write a lot of emails, and the emails I write are not one sentence, one word emails. They're very methodical and logical, primarily because I feel that through writing I can organize my thoughts. I can organize what my next steps are, what my plans are, what my thought process is here. So it's as much as writing is for communicating, it is also for myself, just to organize myself. But I think one of the reasons though, or what you perceive of me in terms of speaking or writing ability, it's really a compensation for having anxiety about people not understanding me. I know what I want to get across, or what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to write, and I will spend a lot of time just thinking about it in my head.
Yeah, but I think that's a lot better than me.
Because I have this.
If I don't feel like I'm communicating properly, I get frustrated and then I cry.
Because I have this anxiety of they're not going to understand what I'm saying, and then it's my fault that they're not understanding what I'm saying because I'm not communicating.
But I think that's amazing, especially in a company, because I would much rather somebody spend extra time making sure that I am understanding what they're saying, because everything can be misunderstood in written word.
Yeah, but the bad thing though about that is
but also then people probably don't want to read.
Yeah, people are so lazy, they don't want to read it. And so you just end up repeating yourself over a phone call or in another email 10 emails later. But again, the value in it, the reason why I'll keep doing it despite people probably just ignoring.
It's documented though.
It's documented, but also it like I said, it's as much for me as it is for anybody else. It's just I feel like writing is not necessarily about getting your thoughts on paper. Writing is about organizing those thoughts. So you have all this stuff in your head that you've been thinking on, ruminating, but then once you put it on paper and you start to read it to yourself, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, or what about this? Or it just helps you get organized. But I appreciate that. I think I have a different superpower though. Okay. So this is weird, but it's like one that I really do like it's part of like my personal narrative. Like, you know how we all have that story that we tell to ourselves about ourselves. Like, I'm a person who does this. Do you have that? You don't have like an internal narrative?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe I do.
I feel like everyone does. Like, you know, I'm a kind person. I'm a loving person.
Yeah.
You tell yourself these things about yourself, right? Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. But why I say that is because those things that we tell ourselves represent so much of how we see ourselves and how we self-identify. I feel like my superpower, the superpower I tell myself I have, is the willingness to out-suffer other people. So, like Will Smith said it sort of. Like Will Smith has this famous clip where he's talking about how, like, if I get on a treadmill and you get on a treadmill, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to get off the treadmill before me, or I'm going to die on the treadmill. Like, and he was talking more about like, I will outwork you, was kind of like the sentiment he was getting. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. Like, I will work really hard, but I think there's a lot of people who will work really hard. I think my superpower is I'll work really hard, and when it gets painful, I will suffer through the pain longer than you will. Like when it gets
I could see that.
When it gets hard and difficult, I will outlast you.
Yeah, but we just call that being like a pit bull or something.
Being
like
stubborn.
That. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's another way to look at it, but like having passion for or having a lot of passion. That's what I feel like. Like maybe that's my superpower. I have a lot of passion.
I think you have a lot of passion in your integrity, like how you represent yourself, your worth ethic, because you will be doing a job that you don't want to do, but you don't want to show everyone that just because you don't like it, you're gonna like be lazy about it, because then that's gonna make it look bad on like you and your worth ethic. So I think that I could see that being your superpower.
Yeah, that's kind of like there's, and that's like another thing like tied to that like I tell myself. It's so corny, but it's something like I really like Superman, and Superman is the man of
our child's name.
Yeah, Superman is the man of steel, right? Mm-hmm. Like stainless steel. That's like what I think of, right? Well, like one of the core, or one of the very like one of the main characteristics of stainless steel is it doesn't rust. And so like that's something like I tell myself is like, I don't rust, I don't wear down, I don't give up, I won't give in, I won't break. And that's where I feel like part of that like superpower of I'll just outlast you, I will outsuffer you. And I feel though like one of the things that like when you feel like you have a capacity for something that's greater than other people, it can be really easy to default to that. But at times, maybe that can also be a negative.
That's what I was going to say.
Like you have to almost kind of choose where you apply that superpower, because if you can end up just defaulting to that because that's easy for you, that's your greatest strength, and then you end up maybe investing that or applying that in an area where it doesn't necessarily benefit you as much as it does other people. That's further down that rabbit hole question I wanted to go, but I just thought it would be.
I was going to say that it's. I think it is your superpower, but then I also think it's your weakness at the same time. But also, like you said, my superpower is empathy, and that can be my weakness sometime too. Is that I'm too empathetic in situations where I probably should be more reserved of my own feelings, and I think that it is your weakness too, because you will work until you die.
Yeah,
you don't realize that. Yes, you and your mind can keep going, but your body probably can't.
Yeah, and I think
you need to pause it.
I think that's where there's been some maturity too, to that. I want to utilize that superpower for my personal, as selfish as it sounds, but I want to use that superpower for my personal gain, for my family's well-being, for my well-being, and I guess for the well-being of myself and my inner circle. I don't want to just be giving it out all the time to everybody for everything. Anyways, I think something we need to talk about, I think we should make it the main topic of our podcast is, and we didn't get to it last episode. So a week ago, we went and toured Cal's potential preschool, which
but I don't want to.
I don't want to say. Yeah, I'm not going to say the name either. People who know us can know, but I'm not going to say it publicly.
Yes.
Just because I want to be able to talk about it openly.
Well, also I don't want random people knowing where he's going.
Oh, good point too. Yeah, the safety of our child is very important. Very important. So that's just kind of one. I'll just start with saying that's kind of a bizarre experience because, I mean, he's done other types of preschool. He's gone to other similar settings, not necessarily maybe as structured or routine.
Not as I do think that they had a great routine, and I do think that they have the place that he did go. I think has pretty much what it will be like for a preschool. So I think he's ready for it. But this is much more. Oh,
Cal's so ready.
He's next level.
He's
ready.
You guys are gonna miss me.
Yeah, but I don't think he realizes how long.
Yeah, it may be different.
This is a lot longer, and it's multiple days a week. And I don't know if I'm fully ready. I know this is good for him and this is what he needs because he's so smart. He's so smart. And I'm out of my realm there. Because, it's not that I don't feel like I can teach him things. It's just I don't know where to start or what to do.
So for me, it was bizarre because I just can't believe that much time has gone by. 4 years or whatever. I just can't believe that we're already there. Or, we talked about on another episode, we talked about already factoring in what school he's going to go to and moving to that school, being in that school district.
Well, I'm only bringing it up because because time has passed so quickly. Because I'm worried that next thing you know, we're going to be enrolling him.
But that's an appropriate. What I'm saying is that's an appropriate conversation to be having. It's just shocking how your parents tell you your whole life. Your parents tell you this, adults tell you this, and then when you experience it for yourself, you're just it finally hits home because you understand it intellectually at some level because you experience it a little bit in high school, oh wow, we're already graduating, and then you experience somewhat in college, oh wow, college is over. You have all these.
I just feel like it's not necessarily. I feel like Cal's first year, I don't feel like I blinked and it was gone. I feel like that was a year.
You've always said that, but I think that's because...
But I'm not saying that I was I was treading water trying to get to that year.
No, I mean...
I
think that was so different because it was only him. It was just you guys every day.
But I do think with Kyler, I feel like I'm losing.
Which makes sense because your attention has been more divided. more spread. Well, I think it should. I mean, I think that's natural, but
I also think with like watching our niece and nephew for so much time, and then I think that kind of felt like it sped things up too. And like I don't feel like that with Cal. I feel like I blinked and he's a kid.
Yeah.
But I feel like I blinked and I like lost Kyler's whole baby years, because he's legitimately like a kid now too.
So that being said, now we're having to prepare for preschool. Do you have any reservations?
About the one we
Yeah,
looked
about
at?
no, just about the preschool we went to, or just preschool in general. Like, do you have any anxieties about it?
I mean, yeah, just because I'm an anxious person, and
Well, I mean, I think it's natural for any parent. Like,
well, I mean, it was hard for me the first time I let him go,
like,
and to the other place, and Erica was working there, like his aunt was working there, like that. That's not even really.
You know
like
what's so
letting
funny
him
is
go.
like, it's so funny. Like we were talking about your superpower of empathy. Like even as we're recording this, like you can't help but think about the other person who's listening, and making sure that you're providing context. Like what you just did. Like you were like, well, Erica was working there. His aunt. You're like, oh, if someone else was listening to this on the other side.
I know majority of the people listening.
I don't want them
like
to be
our
confused.
family,
I don't want them to
but
feel
there
confused.
there is because I have been confused, like watching TV or watching something, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, or I don't know who they're talking about.
It's another one of the like. It's a superpower to be able to empathize with people at that level and
Well,
try
it's not
to.
even that. It's kind of more of just the hope that I hope that other people, other than just our family, are listening to this. Which, I mean, I'm grateful for whoever wants to listen to it. But, I mean, I'm sure even some people in our family might not know.
I didn't mean to derail your thought.
I know, because I'm very easily derailed in conversations. But, I mean, I feel like this is more like legit. Like he's going somewhere, and it's probably, to tell you the truth, it's probably more training for me than really him, because I need to get used to the fact that he's not going to be here all day with me.
So you're so worried about like the logistics of it, and because like you kept asking the lady about the logistics of their like condition gray plan. You kept asking. Which, I totally, I mean, given the area we live in, given what...
It's just because, like, I guarantee you, if we would have went toward that a different time, I probably wouldn't have questioned all that. It's just because we are now entering our tornado season, and it's fresh on my mind. It's a concern for me, because I wanted to mentally know, because our schools in town have some form of a shelter.
No, I get it. It's just, it's funny to me how...
I know that when he goes to the schools, I still will be anxious. I'm sure I will. But I wanted to know what their situation was, and if I felt comfortable with it, because I wanted to make a mental note on if I wanted to just keep him home on those days or let him go to school. Because at preschool, it's not as like big of a deal, but like kindergarten and stuff, I'm not going to be able to do that, because with how often we have that issue, they're going to be like, your son's missed a week, and that's not okay.
It's because like in comparison, I don't have any concerns about the logistics of it at all, like getting used to the schedule or the routine. Like my biggest concern is the people that he will be influenced by. Like the adults that will be around him, the energy they will bring to him, the words they will use, the mindset they will instill.
Well,
that's my
wasn't
biggest
questioning
concern.
that because Erica trusts them.
And see, I'm just such a cynic. Like I am so.
Do you feel like that's not do you feel like that place wasn't a good atmosphere for him?
No, I think I have unrealistic expectations for people. Like
No, I know.
Because like I can kind of count like
don't...
on two hands like the number of people. that I've met that I've been like, yeah, they're good people. They got good mindsets. They've got what it takes to be successful.
I know, but I think that's why God put you in my life and made you marry rainbows and sunshine, because I'm one end of the spectrum and you're the other end, so that it balances everything out.
And like I'm skeptical of like people. I'm skeptical of the acceptance people have of certain values and beliefs about how people are supposed to be and how they're supposed to act and what kids are supposed to be like, and I just, my greatest concern is that they will break him or they will change him for the worse.
I think the biggest thing is that as long as we create a different atmosphere outside of all of that, because the biggest thing is, especially the stage of life that we are in right now, and that's kind of just how school sometimes is.
You're right, and that's what I tell myself
but
is
also the other end of it is that if we make ourselves very present in their school life, instead of like I think 90% of parents are just like, okay, go learn,
have fun.
Like I hope that's not the proper number, but I have a very strong feeling that is. Like they don't like your mom was telling me the other day of an issue when Erica was in school, of a teacher saying that Erica hadn't turned in any of her assignments. And Erica was like making it very, very clear that she had turned them all in and she didn't understand why her grade was so bad. And then it turns out that this guy had been going through a divorce and like all this type of stuff and legitimately just lost all of Erica's work.
Yeah, and I guess that's because I have this excuse me, because I have this skepticism of people, of who they really are, and because like the veil, becoming an adult has kind of pulled back the veil on society and reality. Kind of, it's very eye-opening to realize that these people who hold positions of authority and power and influence are not always like the best people, and maybe are not the most well-adjusted individuals.
I completely agree.
And so that's why I carry a lot of like, oh man,
But I also think that a lot of that comes from the aspect of our school atmosphere, of how the teachers we had, and I think that's more of the veil that you're talking about.
No, like I don't. It's like, it's having kids that I went to school with now be teachers. And I'm like, that kid's supposed to teach and prepare kids for life.
Which I get that.
Like I'm just kind of like, or like kids who I've grown up with and see mature through adulthood, and now they're police officers, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like just that veil of society where you're kind of like, when you're growing up, you kind of take for granted that like, oh, if these people are teachers, they're obviously well read and they're psychologically adjusted, and like you just kind of assume there aren't a lot of flaws.
Yeah, but they're still people.
And I know,
humans.
And then you become an adult and you're kind of like, oh shit, all these people are really deeply flawed, and then you realize how many people aren't like working on those things and trying to like prevent.
Yeah, but I also like, I know a handful of teachers that didn't have their personal lives really cranked out perfectly, but they were still great teachers. And they were still very passionate about what they did, and they still cared about every single kid that walked into their classroom. So I don't necessarily feel like that makes someone a bad.
No, you're right. And that's what I mean. Like I personally believe like the only way you can control this stuff is through individual accountability and through us being involved with as parents. Like I feel like,
I think if we make a really good
foundation
at home of communication between us and our kids, and communication with the teacher, like future teachers out there, I'm gonna be straight up, I'm gonna be that annoying mom. I'm gonna be involved. I'm going to be asking questions. Like Steven said, it's one of my biggest things.
Kelsey's
I ask
throwing
why.
down the gauntlet.
No, I question everything because I'm wanting to understand. I want to understand the routine. And the biggest thing is with this, we just toured the preschool. We didn't meet teachers or anything like that. But the other thing is that we aren't going to really know his teacher until he's in the classroom.
You're right. But that's where, like, the visit for me, I think, wasn't... It... Like, a lot of it was, like, given. Like, that's kind of... I just expect that. Like, you should have decently nice facilities. You should have a running bathroom. You should...
Yeah, but I still feel like a parent needs to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that it's doing your due diligence, but, like, a lot of it was just... None of it was the intangibles, and to me, that's what matters. But
we can't do that until fall anyway.
You're right, and two things that I've really thought a lot about is, one, I can't control those things, so there's no sense in worrying about them, and they're a non-factor in decision making. Meaning, like, we obviously need to put him in a preschool, and we have to start preparing him, and so there's no way to make sure that those intangible things exist, and even if they don't exist, it doesn't mean we're not going to put our kid in preschool, because the logistical preparation for him is very important, of getting used to that setting and being in a classroom and having to abide by somebody's authority, because that's the system he's going to have to navigate as he grows up. Like, that's all just, it's just kind of doing the work. But, like, for me, like, personally, like, I want to know, like, have you read Carol Dweck's book? Like, what do you know about growth versus fixed mindsets? Like, what are your beliefs about people's ability to learn? What are your beliefs about people's innate default mode? Are they good or are they bad?
You could have asked those questions.
I know, but, like, that's where you come on so strong that people are like, oh my gosh. Like,
no, I don't think that's the case at all. Because when it comes to your child, I don't care if teachers look at me like I'm the
and then the question though for me is like, okay, then what do you do with that data? Like, if that person was like, oh no, I don't know anything about growth mindset. Like, I wouldn't be like,
then you need to start weighing your options of what's truly important to you.
Yeah, and like that, but that's like, that's not
Or maybe they didn't know about that book, and you bringing it up makes them be like, hey, that's actually a book I might go and check out. Like, I don't think any of that is, when it comes to our children, I don't care if people.
I don't think it's overstepping. I kind of feel like that's where it's like, I fall back on, all I can control is what I can control. So I'm going to make sure I'm pouring into my kid into those things.
But I don't think it's a bad idea to know who your children's teachers are.
Correct. I would agree.
Or have a general idea of what kind of person they are.
But I am excited, for all the reservations, I am excited though for Cal to go to school and have friends and have the stories and tell us about his day.
I do like their setup, and I do like the kind of general feel of what their classrooms are and what they do type thing. I liked that.
So yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, you didn't like the settings or the classrooms?
No, like all that, like, again, like all that I think was perfectly fine. I just kind of like, that stuff is not really that important to me.
What kind of room and what they're going to be teaching?
Like, they didn't really, she didn't really though expand on any of it.
She did. You just were off with Kyler. Because
no, like,
you had already checked out as soon as we had.
I heard the name of the curriculum and like how there was this dual curriculum that was like Christian based and then more of an academic one, and how they kind of like marry the two. Like, I heard all that. But again, like, I would have like 50,000 questions about like the details and the specifics of it, that like, I know realistically that's not a conversation you can have.
But that's what she told us, so that we could look those curriculums up.
What I would need to do is I would need to set aside like a 3-hour interview slot so that I could just like do a podcast with the teacher to like deconstruct
I
them.
don't think that's necessary.
Like find out like where they went to school at, who their greatest influences are, what their parents did for work, what the relationships are with their parents, what their relationship was with education.
Yeah, but
I want to know all that, because
I don't
so
necessarily think that makes or breaks somebody. Just because they could be the most caring person in the world, but not have the greatest relationship with their parents because it was a toxic environment.
No. I'm not saying it's more of just like painting that complete picture helps you get an understanding of because like what we've talked about before is so much of who you are as a person is what you put into other people.
But I don't think I don't think it's terrible to ask your child's teacher questions.
No, I'm not saying that.
You're making it seem like you have to go and interrogate the teacher to know the integrity of that person. I'm pretty sure you could ask them. You don't need 3 hours. You can ask them some general questions and pretty much gather the integrity of that person.
Maybe. I just read a book about this. Seth.
You're telling me that you can't walk up and meet somebody, have a 30-minute conversation, and have a general idea of who they are.
Excuse me. This is a horrible podcast.
You, of all people, are saying that you need a 3-hour interrogation.
I am terribly sorry for my gross
30 minutes.
No,
because you tend to peg people right away.
Yeah, I agree, and that's part of all of what I'm saying is like my worries are unnecessary. Like they're just intellectual exercises basically inside my own head. And
so they're like Sherlock science experiments?
Not Sherlock science experiment. It's just more about like my own thoughts about like concerns and worries, and this is how I would do it. How would they do it? How's that? And I know a lot of that is just like it is what it is. So there's no sense in worrying about it. Like if it doesn't if that information doesn't change your behavior, the information really doesn't matter, right? Because it's like if knowing things about the teacher is gonna drive me to put my kid in there or not, then it's important. But if it doesn't, then it's not important, right? Like I have to put my kid in public school. Like that's just
majority of a lot of our elementary schools almost have 4 kindergarten teachers now.
Yeah, but you can't
don't like one. You can ask for your child.
You can ask
class.
You can ask, but you're at the end of the day, the system is what the system is, and there's only so much capacity.
I'm pretty sure if I go up there and say I don't want my child in that classroom and make a pretty dang stink about it.
Okay, Mama Bear.
I'm just saying.
It's just my point. My point being like
there is a reason why a certain teacher at the high school was put on the rest of me and my brother and sisters.
I know. I've heard this story 1,000 times. I'm just saying that in most cases they're gonna check all the boxes that are like minimum. Everything above that, it doesn't really matter because I feel like I'm gonna take care of it. So what I'm worried about isn't really something to be worried about it. It's just something you have to get over and deal with. On top of, and then layered onto that, like what you just brought up is, I do feel like I can have a conversation with somebody and get a good read on them. However, as part of trying to live out what I would hope for my kids is continuing to learn and question what I think and believe. And I just read a book called Talking to Strangers by Seth Godin, and he lays out many examples of both anecdotal examples and scientific examples of humans are actually very, very bad at being able to speak and talk to somebody and know who they are.
I could see that.
And anecdotally, you can look at very simple, high-profile examples like the Prime Minister of England meeting Hitler before World War II and having long conversations with him and in-depth interactions with him, and he could not see what was on the horizon. Or women who were in relationships with Ted Bundy and they could not see who he really was.
No, I know.
Right?
And
It's like
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like, so like, as much as I would think that in a long conversations or asking lots of questions, I would be able to get to the heart of who somebody is and what they believe and how that may be meaningful to.
But it could make you a little bit more comfortable with the atmosphere that your child's going to be in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could put you at ease. But I think I'm doing that for myself and just saying, I'm going to be involved. I'm going to be.
But I also do think that school is even a good practice for your children to learn how to navigate and deal with difficult people.
You're right. That's important. I mean, that's part of the doing the work and preparing them. They're going to have to navigate that world, and this is part of preparing them to do that. I'm very frustrated with my nose. So that's all I have for this podcast. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off for the evening?
Nope.
All right. I had a lot of fun recording this episode despite my nasal issues. And I'm sorry that it was such a hot mess production.
When you cut it out, though, was it going to be like 45 minutes? 40 minutes?
No, I'll leave most of it in. So yeah, I had fun. Thanks for listening. Be back with another episode shortly. Find us on Instagram. Let us know what you thought. And that's it.
Good night.
Good night.